Oh, I'm sorry. This is the way it works. All right. So what I do is this says when this element is clicked here, then attach this function, right? That's fine. That's really no different than what I had anyway and originally. But then when I click on it again, take off that take this off of it. Okay? So at this point, and we'll see how this works here. All right, yeah. So now I double click, select it, put it down here, right? But I've clicked on it. So now the it's unbinding it. So if I go back here and I double click, you see this doesn't move. So let's go back and just review. Basically what it's doing is it's letting me put on and off methods or events. So in this situation, when I click, or I want to put on this, if I click it, run this event, and then I want to take off that click, right? So now every time I double click to activate the move image, it puts on the function, and then it takes off the function basically after it's run. All right, so that's the key thing. A few other things I need to highlight here. And we'll do on. You want to be aware. I don't know that you're going to need to use them immediately. We'll see as we start going through some projects. But you want to be aware that you can put things on and off, put events on and off of, or put methods on and off events if you want to. Okay. Couple things I want to show you. One is if I took off this position absolute. Remember our whole position discussion? You know, you can do position fixed and you can do position, I think attached is one of them. You can do position relative, position absolute, and kind of gets confusing. But right now, these things default to a certain position. If I double click on it, and then I double click down here, it's not going to move it because it doesn't have a specific position attribute. So I need to actually attach and say, no, I want this position to be absolute, which means that it's going to go wherever I put it based on the top and left rules. So now, once I attach this position absolute, I can then send it, 100 pixels, 200 pixels, and it's going to do it. It's going to do it right. Okay, so it's interesting. All right, so that's one thing. Now the other piece is that I can put in here. You'll also see that I kind of used a different style rather than saying image ID.css position absolute and doing another one image ID.css top FY. And again, FY is just the variable. We've used that in the past. It's for event page Y or left. What I did is I created them all into one basically style sheet, right? And you can put it in. And all you have to do in order to do that is use these brackets and then treat it like you would a style sheet. So this is how you would write in a style sheet. You'll remember that, so here, right, this is a one line, and I have to put quotes, border, and quotes this, but this is using it more like a style sheet where you create the curly bracket, and then the attributes there, okay? One other thing, if I create transition, now remember I can put this with no quotes, and then here, remember you're in JavaScript, so you have to be aware of whether you're using single quotes or double quotes. So I can use 1S, all right? Comma separated instead of where, in a style sheet you would usually use semicolons, use commas. All right, so there, looks good. So let's see if that works. So now I double click. Now, why, you ask, Mr. O'Leary, why does it not use a transition? If I go double click here, it's going to move it there with that transition of 1 second, right? Why doesn't it do it? Why now? Of course, now that transition attribute is associated with that item, so now that's going to always happen. So I'd have to take it off every time if I want it to happen automatically. There's a lot of stuff. We're doing a lot of stuff in this lesson. Maybe we need to break this up into 2 lessons. But the reason is, going back to what I said, these image items start off with no position. It's just stacking them based on the margin and the float. So they're just stacking them. They don't have a top and left attribute, right? So when I add a top and left attribute, they're not going from a top of 0 and a left of 100 to the top of 0 and a left of 200. They're just magically getting attributes. So if I wanted it to animate from the beginning, then I need to have them start with an attribute, which I could certainly do, right? I could come in here. And as I am laying the bricks, as I am building the page, I could come in here and say, I want this one to be, top or left 0, and this one to be left 100, and this one to be left whatever. I mean, I could do that if I wanted, but I chose to simplify it a little bit. I know it doesn't seem like it in this lesson, but I chose to simplify it so that you're only so that they're just stacking, and then you're grabbing them by double clicking on them and then moving them over here, and then the next time you do it and move, it's going to animate like that. All right, so what are you going to do here? What I want you to do is, in multiple steps, I want you to first just have the items move with your by changing the variables, right? The top and left of these items. So you're going to be just doing the on click and this. And then I want you to fix the issue that we saw earlier, the issue where you where it didn't release, right? Where you needed to create this off method where if something happens, if that you can take the click off of the image list so that it's no longer just sort of waiting there and getting activated when you do your next double click. All right. So what I'm going to do, I think, just to make this easier, is I'm going to create 2 items in the sample code. Okay, one which is move image, and then the other one will be move image with fix, just so that you can see the code. But what you want to do is build it first so that you move the image without having to worry about using the on or the off, and then you can then add the on and the off to make it work. All right, so that's how it will work in your code. But remember, you're only going to call the one function with your on double click. Make sense? All right, go to it.